Whether you're a black belt or just starting off, there's something for everyone.
We are delighted to reintroduce the Matchat podcast, an exciting, fresh format where we've put together a range of chats that are both informational and fun.
Let us take you through episodes packed with insightful interviews that will help expand your knowledge base and challenge your perspective on this dynamic combat art.
So get your uniform on, tie your belt, and bow into
the Matchat.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Matchat, our martial arts talk. I'm AJ, your friendly neighborhood kicker, and I'm here with my co-host, Kiaya.
Hi guys, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a professional grappler, a fitness coach, and a content creator.
And we are back again for another Matchat series chat, and it is March, aka Women's History Month, and we found it appropriate to talk about women joining martial arts, right? And just because as it is a global thing that I think females have been a part of martial arts, it's still very much a very male-dominated sport, and it's very rare to really find a strong, I think, female community sometimes at your local martial arts school. So it might be a little bit tough waters kind of navigating, so we really wanted to have this chat for the day. So in that case, gonna pass it over to Kiaya. We're gonna go into our first point for y'all ladies listening to the podcast.
Yeah, so I think that it's super important, like the first tip to finding a good or joining martial arts is finding a good gym. Like the gym that you go to, the environment that you experience when you walk into that gym, like it's super important. Whether that be like a strong female presence or not, the environment needs to be an environment that like fits you, fits what you're there for, your goal set, and just kind of like how you like to do things. So I would say the first really good thing is just not settling for the first gym. Like find a gym that really vibes with what you're feeling.
I totally agree.
Yeah, I'm sure you've had some experiences where you walk into some gyms and you're just like, I don't know if this is my vibe.
Oh, dude, like I think I've been lucky enough to definitely check out several gyms, and I think also to just either work with them and like coach and stuff. And some of them have been very much awesome, I think, and some of them you're just kind of like, I'm not entirely sure if this is like the right spot. You get like those gut instincts, and I think usually with those gut instincts in terms of like finding a community, if it doesn't really suit you, don't feel too heartbroken about it, you know, like. There's always plenty of opportunities, I think, to find a martial arts school around you, or if it's not around you at the moment, like you can always check out like other online supplement stuff at the moment until you can find means, right?
Right.
I don't know. Have you particularly had any issues, I guess, before, like kind of finding your own like school, or were you like lucky to actually have your first school be your like forever martial arts home, if that makes sense?
Well, I've been to a bunch of different schools. I moved a bunch. Well, not a bunch, but I moved enough to where I had to experience different environments. And that's why I think like going in and looking for like a coach that kind of vibes with you and like teammates that kind of vibe with you is super important. The first gym I went to wasn't really like my vibe. There was nothing like wrong with the gym or wrong with the instructors or anything like that. It was just at the time where I was in the mental space that I was in at the time, It wasn't like the right environment for me. But then I was lucky to find two more gyms that were like perfect for me, and I still visit those gyms now. So yeah, I got super lucky in having a good coach and having good teammates around me in both of those gyms. So yeah,
that's pretty good. I mean, like that's something I think everyone like definitely wants to have that feeling, I suppose, especially something like with martial arts, I suppose, more personal in terms of your training, whether it be fitness or mentally challenging yourself, whatever it is, right? You do want a supportive community around you and just like good vibes, right? Did you get recommended personally to your first couple gyms? Because I know, like for me, I did, outside of a local newspaper, right, that you guys can probably look up for first picks, right? I did have either family members that would like either recommend certain schools and stuff, just because for the most part, right, if you have a good group of friends or family, right, you'd say like, oh, if they really love the school, it's usually a safe bet most of the time, right? So it doesn't hurt otherwise to ask people that you trust that if you know they train or they don't, if they heard anything cool with that.
Yeah, I the first gym that I went to, I just Googled it. I remember like just sitting at my desk and Googling local like MMA gyms, and I just went and it was fine. But the second one, I was actually working in a cabinet shop, and this guy was like, "Hey, do you train?" I had on like a hoodie.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Do you train? You should come try this gym. It's like 10 Planet Muscle Shows." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know." The last gym I went to, I don't know if I have time. And yeah, he recommended it, and it completely changed everything about my life. So yeah. Definitely, I would definitely reach out to people that are already doing martial arts and kind of see if they recommend any gyms in the area.
Yeah, I think like it doesn't hurt to do your research too, right? Especially for things, right? Like,
yeah.
When I think I was looking for another style to start getting into around I think like my teenage years, going into like high school, I think. So I guess I was looking for a completely different art other than like karate and the stand-up Muay Thai stuff at that point in time. So I wanted to get in some grappling, and like I guess like shout out to Sensei David and judo movement. Like freaking, I'm so glad that that he kind of reached out to me first, because he was looking for instructors at the point in time. I was like, no, I'm already teaching at one place. But I was like looking him up. I'm like, oh snap, he looks legit. Like looking at some of the videos and just some of the things there. It definitely helps to know that the person that's heading the school like knows their stuff, right? And I just taking the time to look at the background a little bit too, just to kind of get a vibe. Like, okay, like no, they're cool and they know their stuff too, you know.
Okay, what do you check to figure these things out? Like what platforms are you looking at? What are you looking at? Google reviews? Or
because
like,
here's the thing, right? Like nowadays, right, everything's online. And I think for anyone that is younger than 25 at this point that might possibly be listening, those 21-year-olds or whatever the heck it is at the point, you guys are probably lucky that you have a lot of social media out there to kind of look up, either like Instagram or Facebook. But I also kind of think there's a lot of good martial arts schools that just haven't got caught up with the times too. You know, I don't know if you've come across that on your end, Kiaya.
Yeah, for sure. My one of my the first or the second gym that I went to, they're starting to like come up on the social media part. Like they're starting to realize that it's really important. It's a really important part of having a business and inviting more people in. Because me personally, I go to Instagram and I'm like, hey, who are in these pictures?
No,
are there any women?
Are they females? Hello, women, come back. Oh man, but I mean, I think definitely checking out pictures for the initial class, I think that's a good point, right? In terms of the instructor, it might be difficult maybe for some of the older heads that have like a good substantial amount of accolades, but they might not have them like obviously publicly online because there wasn't those records at that point. Right. But I honestly feel like that if your people meter is pretty good, that if you see a class and they're teaching and you see the body of students around them, you'll know what you're getting yourself into. That's really when it comes down to it. But yeah, gym searching nowadays too, I think like it's you gotta weed through some things sometimes too. It's a process. It's like a relationship. You gotta like go through the process of kind of figuring out if this is gonna work or not, I think, right? Yeah.
And that can be a real test, seriously. That's why we can't settle for the first gym. You got to try all of them and really pick the one that works with you. You got to make sure and you kind of get a feel the first trial class or so. You get a pretty good feel of if the people are trying to be nice to you, if they're like welcoming and helping you like do things. Like we had 2 girls try class yesterday, and all of the women just like flocked over there and were like, hey, like like super welcoming. And I was kind of like the outsider because I was training for something, but I could just tell that they felt welcomed and they both signed up that night.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's a good feel, man, to go in and see people welcome you in because you're new, like you're already kind of scared and stuff, so it's a good feel for sure.
I hope people out there honestly find their forever martial arts home, you know, because like it's important. It really is important in your own personal growth and just as a community in general. You want to be around a good community. And guys, don't be shy. I think if they're a good school, I think they have wonderful trial programs that you guys can like do a class or so. and get the vibe without any like crazy commitment up front.
Right.
Yeah. And if they do happen to have that, I would tell you to probably trust your gut and run.
If you have to sign up on that day,
that's another sign we're gonna go through with that anyway. Maybe a different Matchat for another month. But we're talking about like a good community and overall, right? And then I think you mentioned like you guys had a lot of females or women. I don't know why I keep saying females, man, like some biological thing at this point. Females, but like women. But I don't know. Yeah, it's good to have a lot of women, and sometimes like it might not be ideal that you have another woman in your class to be a training partner. So in general, you just want to look for good training partners, which is what we're going to go talking about in our next point. If you are a woman going into martial arts, a lot of times that outside of the uncertainty of not knowing who you're going to work with for a couple days, possibly like a couple weeks too, right? You kind of want to also get a good vibe, not just for your community, but also the individual that you're going to be working with, and that is your training partners, right? So you want to make sure you have good training partners. And honestly, from my experience, a lot of the times I usually get to jive, and if there happens to be another woman in the class or female in the class, like I know we exchange numbers almost like right away. If we like vibe really good, I'm like, hey, when you come to class this week? Hey, when you come to class? Just because, one, I think as a woman, right? Unless you have guys that are relatively your same height and same weight, usually that's not the case, especially for a lot of grappling arts. It's very difficult sometimes to find a girl that is literally your exact like weight class and height. That's like the perfect like uke with you, right? So half the time, like you just kind of learn how to work with the guys maybe in the class that have good control, definitely kind of go at your own pace. If they happen to be heavier in terms of just like weight or something, or even sizing, it's like you want the partners that are working with you to build your technique, right? And build your foundation, rather than trying to do this whole I'm the stronger, better fighter or whatever ego trip thing that might come from it, right? That's never a good case with that. And we kind of talked about this a little bit too in our last episode, Matchat, right, Kiaya?
Yeah, we did. We talked about finding someone that's not trying to win the drills, and that could be female, like woman or man. Like if they're trying to win the drill, they're probably not the best like training partner for you, and that's like you'll get a good feel for that. Like, if they're trying to like cover the technique with just brute strength, that's probably not your best training partner. Another thing is, I mean, we kind of covered, we touched on all of this, but it's super important is that like the person is actually communicating with you and talking to you about like, all right, how does this feel? Like, are you okay right here? Like, am I like being too strong right here? All of that is super important to know. Like, y'all should have a good relationship where you can just talk about like the feel, because a lot of learning the technique is like figuring out what the other person is feeling. Like, is this torquing the arm a little bit? Like,
yeah, it's like,
is this a crank or a choke?
Is this even working? Are you comfortable right now? That shouldn't happen at this point. This is supposed to take your lights out or something of the sort. Yeah. But yeah, actually, honest partners, right? Like, I definitely think having a partner that's willing to also push your limits too, because you'll also run into that. I feel like as a girl in martial arts, I feel like I've had experiences, I guess, where some of the guys, I knew that like luckily I was already self-motivating myself and kind of like challenging myself, right? But the guys are like kind of taking it easy with me just because it's like, you know, whatever, like just being a girl, I guess, like just seemingly frame wise, like looking more weaker, I suppose. And it's like, oh, you can't handle it. But I if you can find someone that obviously can just see you, everyone's a martial artist once they're on the mat, right? That's what it is. There's no gender type or role or anything of that sort. Like at that point, I think the respect to just be challenged appropriately, I think that's what you'll definitely also want to be looking out for as a good training partner.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, one of my female teammates was like, hey, how do you turn it up? Because I feel like when I turn it up, it's like I'm the spazzy girl in the room. And then I'm just like, no, like there are times, like if you find the right people, you can turn it up with the person, and whether it be a guy or a girl, and they, you know, push you too. Like you're pushing back, and that's perfectly fine. My coach the other day was like, I want you to roll with these guys because they don't treat you like you're a girl. Like, they're not rolling with you like you're a quote unquote girl. They're rolling with you like you're, like, they respect you as a martial artist, and they're gonna, try to push you a little bit more. So it's, like you said, that's super important that you find those people that are willing to just push you and not see you as just a girl on the mats. So
yeah. We'll change that slowly. There's some badass women coming up in sport, man.
Seriously,
badass women coming up, man. It's freaking crazy, insane. Like, I don't know. And ultimately, right? Like, if everyone gets raised up, the whole class gets raised up, the skill set gets raised up, everyone gets raised up. If you keep like going for it, and I think finding people that understand that, I definitely make one of the greatest like training partners out there. Like. Yeah. Oh, man, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's have been like any weird stories, I suppose, in terms of just like being a girl and like awkward partners. Because I'll be honest, until I think the end of my high school year, I probably looked like a guy to most people that didn't. I had like really
nice little shortcut.
Dude, really short. Like I got like some excuse my French, but like I can't describe it anyway. It's like anime fuckboys kind of thing, like real like like Asian. I was real fun trying to find myself, guys. I was really trying to find myself, man.
Hey, listen, we all were. Listen.
But yeah,
I had some wild hairstyles too. Understood.
Mm-hmm. But I because of that too, though, I honestly noticed a difference when people found out I was a girl for certain sports. Now that I think about it now, like it's kind of silly. It's like I'm a girl now. You decide not to like beat my butt like hella crazy, but at the same time, like wait, why aren't you beating my butt like hella crazy right now, man? Like same thing, dude. I don't know. Have you had any stories personally?
Not really. I think I've always been just like I've been the aggressive like girl. Like I was the girl that like played football outside with the guys. So I've never like been too hurt about like somebody going super hard. In my mind, this could be like yeah, I've just never been that hurt about like guys going too hard, and I think because I am like super aggressive and I can get like strong. Mm-hmm. It's just like guys don't really take it easy on me. I know they're like my coaches, they don't give me all of their weight, but they're not taking it easy. They're not giving me the moves and stuff like that. There's a big difference in I'm gonna just be a big strong man and I'm gonna be a technical martial artist. Yeah, there's just a big difference in that. And if you can find somebody that can be super technical with you and give you some real looks at stuff, then that's completely different. But I haven't had too many like wild stories of somebody just like either trying to go too hard or like treat me like a little baby sometimes. It's been a while. I don't have any that I can remember, honestly, and I'm kind of thankful for that.
Yeah,
I don't have any weird stories. I hear some weird stories.
Oh, dude, yeah, I've heard some weird stories too. I think I've had some awesome moments where I'm like, oh, you train? When do you come? Oh my gosh, yeah, let's keep going. Like, oh, like, yeah, and like just the back and forth. I think having a martial arts girlfriend, I think at the point at the gym is like one of the best feelings at that point in time. It's just, it's easier to talk about certain things too. I feel like during, hey, like, can we like take a little bit easy a bit? I'm like a little bit sore for this month. You know what I mean?
All right.
Like that.
Yes, I have a story. Okay. I don't know how appropriate it is. It's not. It's a womanly story, I guess.
We're honest here in the podcast. Here. We're educating as long as we're not going too crazy with it. I think. Okay. I think you guys should be fine, right? Yeah. Like you guys are listening. We're releasing it out.
You're
anyway,
fine.
Right?
You're adult. So like my coach, one of my coaches is a black belt. Her name is Lindsay. She owns the gym, and I also have two other male coaches. There's Brandon in there. Then there's Matt Scaff. And so when I was doing this like last Medusa in Mexico in Cancun, I got my period. And so to my male coach, I was like, all right, I gotta I'm couldn't wait also. So like that affects everything. So now I'm cranky. I'm hungry. I'm hot because I'm sitting in the sauna, and I'm bloated. Like I'm like I'm above weight just a little bit more than I want to be. So I'm just like, oh my God, nothing else could go wrong, really. And my coach was like, you'll be fine. And I'm like, he doesn't get this at all. and something else did go wrong. I didn't have any sanitary products.
Oh my God. Oh no, that's, dude, for any guys out here, that's like the worst nightmare you could have as a woman. I'm just saying that right now. Like nothing inside. Oh, dude.
And so, again, I'm in Mexico. I don't have a car. Like, I don't know how to get to these stores. Like, so I figure out, all right, I can just, like, Uber some, like, tampons or something. And I get them. And I didn't realize that not everywhere has, like, the little applicator thing.
Oh, so it's like the manual one you have to... Oh, my
gosh. And so I was just so confused. And so I showed it to my coach. And he was like, yeah, okay. What's wrong with that? And I was like... all right, I'm sending this to Lindsay. So I send it to Lindsay, and we have a good laugh about it. And she was like, "Oh God."
Oh my
But
God.
just having that there was super important. Like being able to connect with her on that and just laugh about it was important because I was having a bad time, man. I was having a really bad time.
I would imagine in Mexico in the hot ass weather, trying to cut weight, and you're bloated, and you get just everything wrong that goes with the period, like. Yeah, guys, like definitely.
It was pretty rough.
Oh, that would be terrible. If I was in your, I don't know how you would have dealt with that. Honestly, I would. If I was in your position, I'd be like, "Holy heck, I'm about to have this fight start now." I would imagine at that point, I'd be like, "We're starting this fight now, or just going? I'm gonna just go into the room and just like huddle in a corner, get in a fetal position with whatever heating pad that I have, even though it's freaking hot outside." Like, oh man.
A lot of crying. That's how I handled it. And then I stepped on the stage. This was the second Medusa. I stepped on the stage and I was fine.
I mean, at that point, I hope you had like fluids and everything back in you at that point, yeah. Right?
All good.
Oh, jeez. But guys, like having a good training partner, honestly, is just, it makes things a lot more pleasant as an experience. Just at a place that you want to train more often and get better at, right? Like if you're taking martial arts as like a serious step, I think as a hobby, as an interest or whatever it is, right? Like definitely having a good partner around you outside of a good community makes the journey all the more sweeter, right?
Definitely.
So I guess we touched on it a little bit too, but we're going to be getting into, besides having a good partner always means good communication, and communicating as a woman, I think, into finding like a right school for you, that's always really essential. And we're going to get into that point in the next bit.
Yeah, so a really important part, like you said, is understanding what your goals are. What do you want to accomplish by joining martial arts? And for different people, like, those goals are different. For me personally, my goal initially was to just figure out what martial arts were. Like, it looked cool, so I wanted to see what it was. And then eventually that changed, and that's okay too. If you jump in with a set goal and that changes, it's okay. Eventually my goal became, I want to compete. And now the goal is, I want to be the best. So a big part of, like, my gym, being a part of my gym, is like I joined because I wanted to be the best, and I feel like this is giving me the best opportunity to be the best. And so if your goal is to, learn self-defense, find the gym that is more focused on self-defense. Like, you have to understand, I would go and write down your goals and then move from there. Like, make sure that the gym that you're choosing or the people that you're choosing to be around kind of align with those goals. Yeah,
for certain with that. Like, it's definitely, I think it's a little bit unclear at first too when you're first getting into martial arts, as anyone to begin with. But I think especially as a woman, you might not be immediately sure of what you want from it, and that's okay, right?
Right.
But if you do have a goal in mind, like I said, definitely write it down. Definitely just make sure when you visit that school, you have that checklist on your phone or something like that, where you'll be like, okay, does this fit at first? Is this really what I want to do? And basically being able to know exactly where you want to go will just make a lot of the decisions, I think, smoother too. Because I know there's points in time people, even after staying at a school for a little bit, might be like, oh, maybe I want to go to another school too, right? Whether it be, I don't know, like there's school changes that might not be going towards the goal you originally had in line, or it just might be you might want to have like a different experience elsewhere, right? Yeah, as long as you know what you're doing, I think for yourself there, like nothing too much to really worry about. I think at that point, like trusting your gut and trusting what you want to get to.
Yeah, it's super important. Super important. There was a time where I like had to decide, like, all right, do I move to another gym, or like what's the deal? What are we doing here? And like you said, a big part of that is knowing who you are, knowing what you want. Even if that changes, like you said, like it can change from like the gym environment could change and you not vibe with it, or maybe your goal set could change and you just have to, move accordingly. And it's not a bad thing if you're really in a good gym, if you're really around the right people, they understand that, like, okay, we get it. And I think that's super important. So if you follow all the first tips, hopefully you find a good gym, and they understand that, like, all right, there are certain ways. Maybe it's not that you have to change gyms. Yeah. Maybe it's you just have to change the way that you're training. Maybe you need to like scale it back just a little bit because it's interfering with personal life, and they should be able to understand that. Maybe you should, ramp it up a little bit because you're trying to compete. Yeah, your coaches and your teammates should be there for you either way.
Yeah, for certain with that. And like if they are, they're also honest about like what they do and what they train for, right? They know why they're there at that gym, and I think. Yeah, there shouldn't really be too much like misunderstanding if you got a good crowd with you, right? Which is also, if you guys don't know exactly what you want to do with your martial arts career, I suppose, and whatever extent to it, where it is, like if you happen to be lucky to have other female martial artists in there that have been doing it for a while, like go and ask, right? Reach out to other women and just ask questions, like learn from their advice, their experiences. Like I know Kiaya, like yourself, you are very much an active athlete and everything too in martial arts. Like now and speaking with it, I know I have like some experience with like just teaching from my side of like the performance martial arts stuff. But the thing is, you by asking other people, I guess, what they decided to do with their own martial arts journey, you might have a better idea of what you might want to do. And you shouldn't be afraid to ask that, honestly.
Yeah, not at all. It kind of cuts the learning curve a little bit. If you meet this person and they've had 10 years of martial arts experiences and you come to them with some concerns and some questions, instead of just like sitting in your little bubble, then you can cut the curve and you can get you can kind of navigate that area and figure out what you want to do or how you should feel about a situation. Mm-hmm. I think, it's super. I know in the past there weren't a lot of women in martial arts, but now through like the power of social media, you can find plenty of people to reach out to that are willing to help you and help you navigate this situation. Like people reach out to me all the time, and I've reached out to people to just ask questions like about competing, about like coaching and all types of things that I feel like really helped me get to where I am today. So it's super, super duper important. So if you need to, definitely reach out to me, and I'm sure AJ will be open to you reaching out to her also.
Heck yeah, definitely. Because we need more girls in martial arts, guys.
We do. We're trying to take over. It's going to be a takeover.
Oh my God.
Man, the ultimate goal, seriously, is to elevate the level of women in martial arts.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like that's the thing. That's what I want.
Oh, dude, yeah. I get you, though. Really, it's like it gets better and better with the new generation that comes up, right? But just having more girls in the combat sports and everything of the sort, like just building the quality of, especially, I guess, like even if you don't want to necessarily say like compete as a professional, right? Like just being able to have access though to the same training opportunity and like level of competition as obviously the guys that have been competing out there and already been having like the spotlight for the most part, right? It does, well, I know for me personally, it does mean the world, I think, to be able to look side by side and be like, this is it's, equal, the same, I suppose. Like it does not be just like, oh, I'm a female martial artist. No, I'm a martial artist. Like that's kind of the thing you want to say. Like guys, just understand who you are, know your goals, and just be honest with yourself. Be honest with what you want to do, how you are currently, so that way you don't wear yourself out mentally or physically. That's another thing, right? We get all in our feels sometimes and with ourselves, but like just be honest about that too. And that's might be a work in progress, obviously, but the more you do that and the more you try to understand where you're coming from and where you want to go, a lot of clarity comes from it, not just from a martial arts standpoint, but personal standpoint too, right?
Right.
But damn, we got deep at that last bit there. Oh, dude, but it's a good point. It's a good point. Yes, definitely.
It's a home, and it's super important to talk about. Seriously.
But anyway, this is our last point, so we're going to be hopping into our closing remarks, guys. And that's a wrap for today's Mat Chat. Hope you guys enjoyed today's episode on how to not be a better training partner. That was last month's episode, but how to find a wonderful gym as a woman in getting into martial arts, right? So please, I hope you guys enjoyed it. The goal is to release a episode every month. So if you guys have any other topics or guests you'd like for us to interview throughout the year, let us know. Comment on the YouTube video and hit us up on Discord. Link is below. And then we're always down for suggestions. So of course, check out our socials. So Kiaya, this is the time. Where can people find you, of course?
All right, shameless plug here. You can find me on all the socials, Instagram, TikTok, at Kiaya.J, and then you can find me on Facebook and YouTube at Kiaya J. And also for all your training needs as far as combat sports and strength and conditioning is related, you can go to train.kiaj.com.
Do it, guys, do it if you haven't done so already. We're waiting.
Shameless plug again.
But of course, guys, if you have already subscribed to the channel, not like you already what do we call it? Subscribe. If you subscribe, you guys are already here, right? You guys know. But if you aren't already subscribed, you guys should definitely click on whatever that icon that pops up on the side. I have Kiaya's channel too there, by the way, as well as any of my social links and stuff. If you guys want to get a hold of me, are down below, ajkick101.com, and of course, patreon.com/ajkick101. And guys, thank you for listening. As always, remember, keep on kicking, and we are bowing out. Bye, guys.